Right. Hi, Jason.
Going.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. For everybody who's watching, Jason Vinson was a wedding photographer of the year for Masters North America. Uh, Very
Thank
well
you.
done. Congratulations. Uh,
I appreciate it.
yeah. So you've been active in contests quite a while now, right? And last year you even won the contest for North America. But can you tell me a little bit about what motivates you in joining the contest? Why you do it?
Yeah, so for me, the why, like, it's fun to win, like to win awards and get like that validation and stuff like that. But for me, the main reason has always been kind of the motivation to keep pushing myself to create interesting work. Um, like I feel like the point of photography is for it to be seen. And so if I know my work is going to be seen and I'm going to submit it, then I try harder to produce better work. Whereas I feel like some photographers, I've been shooting weddings for coming up on 15 years. And so it's easy to get into a groove and like, you show up at a venue and you get, bride and groom kissing over here, bride and groom holding hands over here. And it could be very easy to get like cut and paste images every single time you show up to a venue or show up to a wedding. And so for me, it's no, it's knowing that I want to push myself. It's kind of it gives me that motivation.
Yeah. Okay. So are
Yeah.
you actively like when you're shooting also thinking about, well, when I shoot it like this, I might be able to win something with that?
No, not necessarily. Like for me, the award, like the thought of an image becoming an award is very much like an afterthought. It's once I get into post production and I start working on an image, I'm like, oh, this one kind of has potential, and it might get saved to a folder of like potential submissions. But just knowing that something might be submitted, like it just constantly makes me push myself further to get it just as good as I can while I'm in the scene, and always look for something interesting um while I'm on location.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it helps you like to get the most out of it every time. Right?
Yeah. And not to not settle.
Yeah. And then does that account for shooting moments and doing a photo shoot or more at
Yeah,
one
so
time?
like the whole day, as far as like, capturing moments is very easy to just be like, click, got an image. It tells enough of the story, but always wanting to get like the best and make sure that like limbs are lining up, you have the right composition, you're playing with light and you're kind of moving around and trying to get the best you can of that moment. So it just makes me work harder, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And how is it for you like when you win the awards like and you post it on your socials or what do you do with it? Right? And does it help you?
Yeah, I mean, it helps me. I mean, I think it helps on the client side of things, like potential couples look at it. I don't think it's necessarily like a decision maker, but I do think that it gives a little bit more confidence when they view like a portfolio and stuff and they see that, there's awards and stuff like that. So it helps on that side, but it also helps like with the education side. So I do a lot of like workshops, speak at conferences and stuff like that. And so it gives a little bit more validation in terms of being an educator and stuff as well, especially considering that I'm like still actively shooting weddings, submitting, winning awards and stuff like that. And so it keeps me relevant, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Hey, and you selected a few images for us to talk about. We're going to walk through a couple of them, and yeah, I mean, I'm very curious which ones you picked and why. What do you have to tell about them? So
Yep.
yeah, I think you can share your screen, right?
Yep. Yep. Let me pull it up here real quick.
Yeah, that's a familiar
All right.
image, right? Seen that before.
Actually, wait, it's pulling up. Oh yeah, this is right, I think. Okay, cool. So this image is actually a moment photo. And what happened is I showed up to the venue. I'm actually second shooting for this specific wedding. And I showed up, and the videographer had gotten there earlier and tacked the dress to the window with like one of those like 3M command strip hook thingies. And I guess he was taking video of the dress like hanging in the window because behind us is the St. Louis Arch. And so in my mind, I instantly knew that at some point the bride was going to have to walk over to that window and pull the dress down, right? And so I told the lead photographer, I was like, hey, I'm going to run outside, make sure that the bride doesn't take the dress down until you see me out on this little balcony that was outside of the hotel that I knew I'd be able to see the window from. So I ran out there, got set up. I could see him. I gave a little like thumbs up, like I'm ready to go, and he went ahead and let her go ahead and pull the dress down. But the reason why I show this photo is because this is the before. Let me see. So this is directly at a camera. This is what you see with the naked eye.
Oh, wow.
And so the reason why I think this is important is because um, when I walked out there, if you don't know what you can do with post-production and your skills on the computer, you might walk out and see this scene and turn around and be like, "Oh, I'm not going to be able to make this work. I can't even see the dress, right?" But I knew I was able to see enough of it that I could pull enough contrast out with it with some post-production tools and stuff like that that I'd actually be able to make this work.
Yeah, yeah. You're all doing that in Lightroom?
Lightroom or Capture One. Yep. The specific edit was done in Capture One.
Oh, that's a huge difference. It's
Wow.
a
So I'll do a little back and forth again so you can kind of see.
yeah,
Really, the main key here is just a handful of curves, layers within Capture One, just to bring out the contrast, and then just a local white balance adjustment on the bride and the dress so that it was white instead of the tint that the window was.
yeah. It actually doesn't look like the bride is taking the dress off from here, more like a guy in a white shirt, but it is bright.
Yeah, she's wearing like one of those like white robes, and she's
Yeah,
getting ready to go take the shirt down.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean to make this work, um, you got to communicate, right, uh, with whoever's in there, and know what you want to shoot, right? So planning ahead, um, stuff like that. You do that a lot in moments like this because I think it's a sort of a taking a chance to go out of the room to a different part just to get this shot because there might be something else going on in that room that you miss when you walk out, right?
Sure, yeah, like and so that's one of the other benefits is that I was the second photographer, so I wasn't lead photographer for this. I was helping a friend out in St. Louis. And so I'm able to take a lot more risk because one, he's the lead photographer and he's in the room. And so like, yeah, to get this shot, I missed the entire scene of her getting her dress on. Like I don't have a single image of her putting her dress on that he got all of those.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that explains, right? So
Yeah.
it's good.
So yeah,
Yeah.
there's definitely a risk. Like if I was the lead photographer for this wedding, I might still do it. I might just tell her, hey, like go ahead and pull your dress down whenever I'm down here, but don't put it on until I get back, kind of thing. But then again, that comes down to communication and making sure that you have the time for it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Clear. Well, thank you for sharing. Uh, um, you have another one?
Do. So this is another one I always get a lot of questions on this because people always think that it is a multiple exposure or that it's multiple images combined with post-production. But this is actually just a single exposure done in camera. So what I have is I have two lights, and they're both behind the couple pointed towards the camera. One is an 8200 Pro, and then the other is a Stella Pro Reflex S. So one's a constant light, and then one is a flash. And then I'm shooting at like, I believe it was like 1/8 or 1/4 of a second for my shutter speed. And so what happens is I take the photo, and then right as I hit the shutter, I pan the camera to the side. And so the constant light mixed with the long exposure is why I get the streaks coming across the couple. So that's why you get the motion. So that's from the constant light. And then the second light is the 8200 Pro, which is in like literally just stacked on top of the constant light. But because that's a flash, as I move the camera, when that flash pops, it freezes the couple. And then I have the flash set to what's called multi-mode, where you can set the light to go off a certain amount of times at a certain rate. So whenever I take the photo, it pops the light twice within within my exposure. And so I hit the shutter and it goes pop, and then the shutter closes. And so you get the streak of the motion from the constant light, and then the two pops of light while the shutter is open as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's technical photography right there, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was this the first time you did something like this, or have you been
Yeah,
experimenting?
this is the first time I tried this. This is one of those things like I always want to create some sort of like interesting, unique portrait for my couples. And a lot of the times that happens at nighttime because I have a little bit more time during the reception. I can get enough coverage from just like the party dancing where it's okay for me to go outside for a couple songs and figure something out. And so I was just kind of wandering around the venue trying to get inspired to do something, and I couldn't really find any lighting or location at the venue that was really inspiring. And so I was just trying to think of something that I could do that was unique. And so I randomly came up with this. I set up my lights. I had my second photographer stand in for a couple just to see if it was doing something that was interesting. And once I got it, I was like, okay, I think we can work with this. And so I ran in, got the couple, told them I was ready for a portrait. They walked outside. We maybe spent maybe 2 or 3 minutes taking photos outside. I sent them back in, and this was the result.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
then I have
it's
and
great.
then this is the raw file directly out of
Well
camera.
fun. Yeah, yeah. You just have to try some new things every now and then, right? And just and go creative. I mean, it's a great example because of it. And
And it's
it,
okay to experiment on the wedding day,
yeah,
as long as you have some safe images to cover you.
yeah, that's right. And yeah, you shouldn't be scared to yeah to not make it work, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah, it's it's always good to try new things, right? Yeah. So so you use flash and constant light for this one. Um,
Yep.
this constant light is something um, that a lot of wedding photographers I talked to have been starting to use in the last few years. Have you also adopted it? Yeah.
Yeah, I still always use flashes and stuff like that, but if it's a situation where the light's a little lower and I can get away with constant lights, then I will. So long as I don't have to have them so bright that it's kind of blinding for the couple or whoever I'm pointing them at. But things like bride and groom prep are perfect for this type of situation. Speeches is always really good because a lot of the times, like some of the speeches are a little bit more run and gun. You don't actually know where they're going to be standing. Like they say they're going to stand here and then they're not. So you have to be able to maneuver things around. And so having the constant lights makes it so I can just like instantly move it and I don't have to do any sort of like test images or anything like that. I can just like adjust my light and I know that it's going to be good. And then a lot of the times for speeches, they're standing in an area where there's not very good light anyways, and so it's good for the audience to have a light on the subject, and so it helps for the scene as well.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So nice. And I mean, this one and also your last image are pretty heavily post, yeah, done in post production. Um, what, um, yeah, how did you come up with this? Like, how did you get a teacher or some courses for post production, or you just yeah, trying new things and see what works or not?
Yeah, just a lot of playing around. I've watched like a ton of YouTube videos. Like when I first started out, there was I forget what it's called. It was called Flern, Phlearn. I don't know if it's even still around anymore. I'm sure you can still find all of the videos and stuff like that. But it was run by a guy named Aaron Nace, who I believe is still like an Adobe educator and stuff like that. And so I watched a lot of post production and stuff through there, and then from there, yeah, just a lot of trial and error and figuring it out. And for me, the with post production, the biggest hurdle was just dedicating the time. I didn't want to spend so much time on just a single image.
Yeah,
And so once I got past that hurdle of like, okay, it's okay to spend a little bit more time on an image if it's worth it, and then you could just do like bulk edits and stuff for the rest of the wedding. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, just
And,
dedicating a little bit more time as far as,
I
gradients
think
and brushes and
it
white
works
balance and stuff.
when you make like a tight selection of images, right? And when you do, uh, yeah, when you have 4 or 5 images that are sort of the same, and you edit one, and you have to do all the others as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sort of the same way.
Yeah, so the way that I get around that is I have in my gallery, I have everything separated by day. So I have like pre-wedding, wedding, reception, portraits. They're all separate little mini versions, like mini galleries within the whole gallery as a whole.
Yeah,
And then I have another one that's called selects. And so selects are all of the images that I've spent a little bit more time on. And so in the situation where I do have like one portrait, and then maybe I have like 5 versions of a similar portrait, and I only want to edit one, that one gets broken out into the selects folder. And so it's not being viewed next to all of the other portraits that were similar. It's off on its own within the selects gallery.
ah, yeah, good one. All right, thanks for sharing.
You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So this is a very similar situation as the first one, except instead of having the flash in multi-mode, it's just a single pop like you would normally traditionally use a flash. So I have, again, it's a Stella Pro Reflex S behind the couple pointed towards me, and then a Godox 8200 again behind the couple pointed towards me. And then I'm shooting at like 1/8, 1/4 of a second. And so the idea here was to get like this traditional backlit rain type image, but I wanted to see the movement of the rain. And so the constant light lets me see the movement because the exposure is open for a long time, and so you can see the movement of the rain as it drags through the constant light. But then the pop of the flash freezes the rain as well as the couple within the scene.
Yeah. All right. So that's also a mixture of 2 types of lighting. Is that we've seen couples being photographed in the rain before, like a lot of times. But like you said, this it's like a dragging the shutter with the rain, right? It's
Yep.
yeah, very, very well done. So you got one flash also in front of the couple and one in
No,
from the
just
back.
2 flashes behind them. The only reason why they're being lit is there's enough light within the scene to pull them out of the shadows. And there's a little bit of light that's bouncing off of the rain in front of them and kind of filling them in.
Okay, so you got no flash or constant light filling them in from the front.
And all the lights directly behind them. And so just to kind of give you an idea, so this is before.
Ah,
So they're fairly dark, but there is plenty of detail. I'm shooting at ISO 100, so I have a lot of dynamic range to pull out of the file.
yeah, yeah. You hardly see the dragging of the rain. Or the,
So you have to pull it out. If I scroll in here, you can see it here.
oh yeah,
Yes, I'm pulling that out of the shadows as well.
yeah. That's probably because the constant light is a lot less hard than the flash,
Yeah,
right?
it's just the constant light just doesn't have enough power. It's at full power right now. I could have The tricky part is I could have like maybe raised my ISO or something like that so that I could let in a little bit more light from the constant light, and then I could have lowered the power of the flash a little bit. But the problem is that I'm actually shooting in the middle of the street and just like in a regular neighborhood. So I'm trying to kill a lot of the ambient light because I don't want to see all of the houses and cars that are behind them. So if you zoom in here, like I photoshopped this little light out that's coming up from over a fence. And if you zoom in here, like this is a car right here, you can see the license plate, but it's deep enough in the shadows that it disappears. But behind them, there's like you can kind of see right here, there's a little red from a car that's behind them. So they're just in the middle of a neighborhood street. And so I couldn't bring more ambient light in to see the constant light without showing too much more of the background.
Yeah. So you had to like use like a lot of power for the flash anyway, or else you would see all the ambient light. Yeah. All right. Cool. That's nice.
Moving on, or any other?
Yeah. You got another one?
I think this is the last one. Okay, so this is a wedding that we had. It's at the top of um, a real big, I call it a mountain, but it's not. It's more of just like a big hill lookout point at a local lake. And so the couple had booked this venue so that they could have these like grand-esque views of Beaver Lake here in Arkansas. And what ended up happening is that it was just like super dense fog for literally the entire day. And so anytime I see anything in the air, so rain, fog, champagne, bubbles, anything like that that's in the air, I think about backlighting it because you're going to be able to bring out a lot of that texture, and it's going to catch the light. And so what I did is I put an 8200 Pro with a full CTO gel behind the couple. And then I got an 8600 Pro with no gel, and I literally like sprinted off into the woods, way, way, way back into the corner, and I just set it down back into the woods. And so what happens is with some white balance adjustments, the full CTO gel I can bring just to make it a little bit more cool, which makes my 8600 become more cool. And so that's how you get these like warm and cool tones. And then as far as power goes, the reason why the 600 has to be at full power, even though it's a lot bigger of a light, because it's so far back. And the reason why I ran it back there is because I wanted that blue light not only to help bring in some of those complementary colors, but I also wanted to bring out some of the textures of the trees, because otherwise all of those trees would kind of fall into the fog and you wouldn't see them very well.
Yeah. Yeah. That explains. I mean, it's a bit spooky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then here, this is like a quick little look at, this isn't me shooting, but this is a scene, like this is what the scene looked like. So you can kind of see these trees in the distance, like you can't see them at all. And so had I not put that blue light back there, you wouldn't really be able to see those within the scene. But this is how, I'll play it again. This is how foggy it was um, on the wedding day.
Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy what you can make of it, huh? With some flashes and some gels. It's yeah, you're using color gels a lot.
Yeah, almost. I'd say probably 90% of the time I have a full CTO gel on my flash.
Okay, yeah, just to bring in a little bit of color, a little bit of orange.
A lot, and a lot of the times it's not necessarily to add warmth to the couple. It's so that I can take the warmth off of the couple and make the scene more blue. So
Yeah,
it's more of a way. It's not necessarily a way to add color to what I'm lighting. It's to add color to what I'm not lighting.
all right. Yeah, I just stopped the screen share because you can see a
Oh, cool,
little
yeah.
bit of you also. But yeah, so
You can see my nice goggle line from snowboarding for a few days.
yeah, nice. So yeah, you're actually I, yeah, when you take a couple out for the wedding, just always taking your flashes with you and taking or getting the most out of it. Because I see a lot of wedding photographers are a bit hesitant to use flashes because it takes more time and to set it up, with tell the couple to wait. If you don't control them correctly, you have to go back and forth to them. It's not always easy for everybody, but
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a learning curve, but I think once you learn the basics of how flashes work, it's pretty easy to kind of integrate into a workflow. And for me, not everything I do has to have flash. Like I'll shoot an entire wedding and not use my flash at all. Carry it around with me all day and not use it. It's just when I walk into a scene, it's always about light and composition. And so if there's good composition and good light that I can work with, then I just roll with it. But that's not always the case on a wedding day, and more likely than not, it's something that you have to work around. Is like there's decent composition, but the light's crap, or there's good lighting, but there's not good composition. So you have to make your own light where the compositions are good.
yeah, all right. So, hey, something completely different. You've got your weddings like from all over the country, or you're doing a lot of weddings abroad as well, like destination weddings, or mostly
Um,
oh,
nor I usually average like 1 to 2 destination weddings as far as outside of the country per year. And then I used to travel a lot more like within the United States, but since we started having kids,
mm,
we've tried to kind of keep it more close to home. So I try and keep it, and for people overseas, this seems ridiculous, but I try and keep it within like a 5 hour drive. Because for me, that's more manageable. I can drive out the day of the wedding, shoot it, maybe spend the night and drive back. Or if it's like 2 to 3 hours, I'm more than fine just driving out, shooting the wedding and driving home. But yeah, so since we've had kids, like when we first had our first kid, he went on 19 different flights before he turned one. And
wow,
so by the time he turns two, we have to start paying for his plane ticket. And then we had 2 kids, and now we have 3 kids. And so um,
yeah,
the you know, the idea of bringing them along is always fun, but it just becomes way more expensive. And at that point, you're maybe shooting a wedding to break even with flight
yeah.
costs and stuff like that.
Are you and your wife in the business together?
Yeah, so we started off as a husband and wife team, and we always every single wedding that we had, we shot as a couple. And then whenever we had our son, she took a little step back and stopped shooting so many weddings. And then when we had our daughter, she took another step back, and we had our third daughter, and she took another little step back. And so right now she still shoots weddings, but not as many, maybe a couple a year. But she still massively helps on the business side of things, doing all of like invoicing and accounting and a lot of the back end work that clients don't see, but is always appreciated, especially for me, who I don't want to have to deal with it.
Yeah. And can you tell me a little bit about how it all started for you, like the wedding photography, and how it came to be in the way that it is?
Oh, yeah, so wedding photography was never in the plans. So I have my degree in mechanical engineering. And so when I graduated college, I moved to Arkansas for a job that I was supposed to just be at for a year, and then I was going to move back to where I was born, which is Albuquerque, New Mexico. And within that year, I met my wife, and so we got married. Decided to buy a camera to take on our honeymoon. Whenever we got back from our honeymoon, one of my wife's friends liked the pictures that we took on our honeymoon, and so she asked us to take her family photos. So we're like, okay, I mean that could be kind of cool. So went out there. We just had it was a Sony A550 with a kit lens, and like I would take some pictures, and I would give the camera to my wife, and then she would take some pictures, and she would give me the camera back, and I would take some pictures. And so it was fun. That led to another family session and another family session, and then eventually someone asked us to shoot their wedding, and so we're like, okay, hold on, pump the brakes. Maybe this is a little bit too much for us to handle. But they really wanted us to do it. I think we charged them like $500 to shoot a wedding, which is ridiculous. But given our skill level, it was probably too much.
Yeah.
Shot that first wedding, and we both loved it. It was like for me, I love the chaos of the day. For my wife, she loved, like all the people, and she's always really good with dealing with people. And whenever we do like family formal, she's the one that's always like posing them and directing them and stuff like that. And so we just did that for a long time. And then in 2017, It got to the point where I was using all of my vacation days at my day job to shoot destination weddings. And then I had the opportunity to go to India to document the Holi festival for 2 weeks. But I didn't have any more vacation days, so I couldn't go. And so I put in a request for time off without pay. My boss told me no. So I put in my 2 weeks notice 2 weeks before my flight left to India.
So I'm quitting.
Yep. And so been full time ever since.
Yeah, yeah, nice. And you
Yeah.
got any plans for the future?
What's that?
Yeah, you got any plans for the future? Any things that you really want to do, or what you're working towards?
Working towards. Yeah, right now, so I always want to shoot weddings because I love them too much. But with kids starting to do like sports on the weekends and activities and all that fun stuff, I'm starting to dial back a little bit on weddings, and I'm going to start doing a little bit more like high school seniors and stuff like that, which is big in the Midwest. So I just started to kind of start ramping that up this year. So
It's
I have
portrait,
a couple, like
isn't
a
it?
handful of what's that?
It's portrait photography, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like high school seniors, portraits and stuff like that. Yep.
Are you enjoying it that just as much to shoot it,
Yeah,
or
I like it. So it's for me, my favorite part of the wedding day is actually the moments side of it. And portraits are kind of they're only just a very, very small side of the day, but I always do love taking portraits and stuff like that. And so with seniors, it's cool because it's a 2 hour session, multiple outfit changes. And so it's fun because I get to flex that creativity a little bit more. I get to spend a little bit more time working through ideas or trying to work a scene a little bit more and stuff like that. Whereas with a wedding, you're usually tied down to a much shorter window of time.
yeah? All right. Well,
Yeah.
we've
So my last senior session, I drug like a big hand painted backdrop into the middle of the woods, and we did like a photo shoot with the hand painted backdrop just out in the middle of the nature and stuff like that, which was pretty cool.
really, yeah. Yeah, you can make it as crazy as you want, right? As a
Yeah.
photographer,
Yep.
if the client trusts you, you can do whatever you want, right?
Yep.
Well, thank you for doing this interview and like a brief
Ah,
look in on what you do and how you do it. And
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
yeah, no worries. And I wish you all the best in the coming years. And I'll stop the recording and we can have a little chat afterwards as well. But thank you
Sounds good.
for doing this, Jason. And I hope to see a lot of great work from you in the years to come. Right?
Hopefully. We'll see.
All right.
Thanks,
See
guys.
you later.